Guys, hope everybody's having a fantastic day, whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. I'm glad you're here. Today I'm going to talk about the top 5 knives that came into my collection in 2022. That does not mean these are knives that were necessarily released in 2022. These are just knives that I became familiar with and owners of in 2022. When you're talking about USA made knives and you're talking about knives that came into my collection in 2022, there's so many honorable mentions I don't know where to start. They're knives that were new knives in terms of new versions of old knives, like the TRM Nerd with the hole in the blade, which is one of my favorite fifth pocket carry knives. There were special releases like the Cutlery Shop Spyderco Warncliffe blade with CTS XHP blade steel. It's kind of a limited Cutlery Shop release. And then I added the which scales are these? Going brainy on you guys. We'll come back to that and I'll tell you which scales these were. But, you know, there were a lot of knives that came into my collection that were new to me, that didn't necessarily make my top 5, that are fantastic knives, like the little Jacob Creates Chickadee, which basically has changed up how I carry knives and how I carry, in terms of being an impact into my EDC life. This knife, even though it didn't make the top 5, has changed my knife behavior. And then there are knives that came into my collection that are fantastic knives, but for me to say they're favorites, I just don't carry them enough. And the Medford Infraction definitely fits that bill. This is a great knife. It is, it could just as well be in my top 5, and I might as well keep it in the top 5 since it's my video and it can actually be 6 videos. Or 6 knives, but in all truth, the reason this one didn't go in is there's another Medford in its place that came into my collection this year that I carry more often. But again, just great knives that aren't necessarily new knives, but they're knives that came into my collection that I am, just very excited to have. And we'll start out with the Benchmade Adams. When I first had this knife in my collection, I was not altogether crazy about the scales. It didn't take me long. I was crazy, however, about the knife, the heft of the knife, the action of the knife, the blade steel of the knife, being in crew wear, and being a very hardy, heavier knife, which I do like hardier, heavier knives. And then I found these advanced weapons technology scales that are Cerakoted, and I believe these are Sniper Gray, and they are aluminum, and they're powdery, and I just like the way they feel. I like the way they make the knife feel, and the Benchmade Adamas is just a get-it-done knife. It's a knife that fits the void in my collection of when I need a hard work, good, dependable, made-in-America knife with a lifetime warranty. The Adamas is going to basically fill that bill for me. It's a fantastic knife, and it's number 5 in my top 5 USA-made knives. So moving on, we come to a knife that has been around for a while, but this is kind of another sprint run Spyderco, and this is the Spyderco Manix 2. It has the same titanium scales that this Spyderco has. It has not come to my mind yet. I'll put it in the description, or if I remember it by the end of the video, I'll blurt it out with my ADHD brain. But this is the Manix 2. It is in crew wear. This was the Knife Joy or Knife Center exclusive, I think. It came with black G10 scales. It's a crew wear edition. With the treated blade. I added titanium lock bar, titanium hardware, and then I added the scales from, this is the creature pattern, or this is the dragon pattern, and this is the creature, or vice versa, and they are from as y'all sit here and listen to me struggle over the name of the scale maker. It's not Original Goat. I also love Original Goat. But these are, if I come to it, guys, I will blurt it out and y'all will be the first to hear it. If not, it'll be in the description. Moving on to number 3, the Medford knife that I do carry quite often. I look at it as a gentleman's carry Medford, and it's the Medford Slim Midi. I also have a Midi Marauder that I love, but again, it's a little bit more beefy. This knife is drop point, treated blade, titanium handles, just a really good feeling knife, feels good in the hand. It's got the falling leaves pattern, which give it a little bit more flair, make it a little nicer. It's just a well-built, an overbuilt gentleman's folder, we'll call it. And that is the Medford Slim Midi. Has fantastic action. Medfords are on bearings now. They are, regardless of what you think about the maker, like I always say, I buy knives based on the design of the knife and how the knife makes me feel. I don't necessarily have to agree with everything anybody who makes a knife says, or for that matter, anything someone who makes a knife says. But I do have what I feel like constitutional and a moral responsibility to kind of respect their right to say what they think. Freedom of speech is something that, as long as you're not yelling fire in a building, I'll get off my horse now, you're not causing any trouble. Freedom of speech is a good thing. Debate before hate. Let's not just hate to hate. So anyway, that's the Medford Slim Midi. That's the number 3 in my top 5 USA made knives. Very well crafted, well put together. Very pleased with that knife. Number 2 is a knife that came into my collection, luckily, when I went to the Nashville Custom Knife Show, and that is the new Protech Mordax. It is a fair and form collaboration. I'm told that the blade stock is not changed from the original format or the original Mordax, but to me, this blade not only has a crown spine, which the original didn't, but the blade stock and the edge seems thinner to me. It's a lot slicier in my memory. Has a great choil, has fantastic ergos for my hand, and I would imagine for most hands, because it is a very popular knife. I haven't seen these mass produced in the wild yet, but I have seen them at Blade Show, at Custom Knife Show up in Nashville, where I was lucky enough to grab this one. And I've heard they were at Blade West, Texas, places like that. But that's number 2 in my collection, and that is the Protech Mordax. A fantastic button lock in Magna Cut and aluminum handles with texturing on the handles. A really good pocket clip. Again, made in the USA. I'm kind of a Protech fan, and the Mordax is right up there with the Malibu, and I find it just as snappy as the Malibu. Seems a little less snappy only because the blade's longer, and I feel like it's traveling further when it deploys, but it's a great knife. Which brings me to my number 1, guys. My number 1 USA made knife for 2022 that came into my collection is a special release, or I guess you'd call it a release from a retailer, and it is the Hinderer Eclipse with the Flipper Delete. And if I'm not mistaken, this was a Knife Joy or an E-Knives exclusive. I forget whose exclusive this was, but if you Google Hinderer Flipperless Eclipse, you'll see listings for this, and it is for me, a fantastic knife. I am just in 2022 discovered Hinderer in terms of having them in my collection, starting with a knife that you guys have probably seen in one of my videos. Dark Gravity gave me the option to purchase after I carried it for a couple of weeks, which I did exercise the option to purchase it because I loved it, and that was a 3-inch XM18 with a Skinner blade. I've since picked up several Hinderers and continue to think that they're a fantastic knife. This particular one, without the flipper tab, with the thumb studs, I've got a couple of modifications to it. I added a smooth titanium stone wash show side scale, and then I added the blue hardware, which I don't know if I'll keep that or not, but the blue tie hardware was something I just thought kind of broke up the knife, gave it a little bit of pizzazz. But the Eclipse is a knife that Rick designed mainly to be kind of more of a tactical knife than the XM18, which is also a fantastic knife. This knife has a little bit narrower blade. I have XM18 3.5 inch Spyderco that's thicker, and I don't think has as good a slicing geometry as the Eclipse does. They're both thicker blades, more work knives, kind of designed to not necessarily be the most slicey knife in the game, but they are definitely a knife to get the job done. And I would trust my life to this knife. I carry it all the time. It does not feel overbuilt. It does not feel heavy. Hinderer does some great weight relief on their scales. This particular knife is in 20 CV, made in America, and it is my number one for 2022 that came to my collection. So that is the Hinderer Eclipse, Protech Mordax, Medford Slim Midi, Spyderco Manix 2, and the Benchmade Midi Adamas. So guys, I will get you the manufacturer of these scales. Not Original Goat, but Original Goat has great scales. These are, damn guys, it is late when I'm recording this and I just cannot think of the name of them. So I'm just going to ask you to please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Look out for one another. Have happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I love you all. Go forward with love in your heart, and please choose debate over hate. Peace.